I want to talk today about two particular issues with respect to how to hold the mind, how to practice. Let me first start with the idea of the meaning of effortlessness. In a profound way, the practice of surrender is nothing other than learning to let go of our habitual attempt to grasp, to control, to believe that we are the ones doing. And there are many ways in which this letting go can happen. But one facet to which I'd like to point to you today is the physical muscle facet. Feel the muscles in your body right now. Many of them work involuntarily. Your heart pumping blood, the muscles that support your lungs in various ways, that involuntarily expand and contract them, and so on. In fact, the percentage of control we exert directly and deliberately through our conscious mind is very small. And to take it a step further, it's not merely very small, it's actually non-existent. So the idea of surrender is to take that bit of so-called voluntary control over our muscles, say, and relax that control. Give up that control. It doesn't mean that we resist those muscles being used for anything. It doesn't mean that we force ourselves to sit on the couch or to lie in bed. That would be using our voluntary quote-unquote powers, or appearing to anyway. Neither does it mean going into work or cooking or taking care of our kids or anything else like that. It doesn't mean not doing those things either. What it means is to notice the voluntary control that you can exert on your muscles to compel them to either do this or do that, and to give up that control, which is effectively to relax those muscles, actually. It's to relax them without forcing them into a deliberate position where they can't do anything else, if that makes sense. It's as if you're telling your muscles, go ahead, walk, talk, work, cook, do whatever you want to do. Just don't require my effort. In as much as I'm concerned, I'm relaxing. In as much as I exert control over muscles, I'm relaxing. I'm not exerting voluntary effort. I'm not exerting voluntary control of the muscles. I'm letting that go. And every time a thought or feeling comes to you, asking you to exert yourself for this or that reason, because something seems exciting to you, something seems interesting, something seems pleasurable, or conversely, because something seems upsetting and you want to avoid it, you want to leave, or you want to confront it and fight it. to all those different varieties of bait that would have you activate your muscles in a voluntary way, you effectively say, I'm not getting involved. I've relaxed my control. I'm relaxing my control. I will continue to relax my control. And it will be the case that your muscles will, by themselves, without your commanding them, go off and do things. You may not be able to predict what those things are in advance. And certainly you will have no control over whether they are so-called successful or whether they fail. But that's always been the case. You've never exerted any control over that. In fact, you actually speaking exert no control even over whether those muscles are activated at all. The idea of your voluntary control of the muscles is pure illusion, misconception. So giving up that misconception, you simply say, I relax. And all you're really relaxing is the misconception that you have voluntary control over your muscles. You don't. The muscles work by themselves. They work either to relax or to contract or whatever they do by themselves. Meaning part of a system of body and mind of which you really have nothing to do. You're not involved in that system, although you think you are. Your thinking you are is the ego. So relax your muscles, meaning relax your control of them. Just relax, 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 relax. At every juncture, at every demand, at every desire, at every fear, relax those muscles. And that stands in for the relaxation of the entire being. And that stands in for simply aligning yourself with the truth that you were already nothing but that relaxation, that you were never involved, that you were never drawn in, that you could never be baited, that you could never be hooked. All those things are just illusions. Illusions occurring to no one. The other interesting point I'd like to turn your attention to is the idea of a bowl with a marble at the center. Imagine carrying a bowl with a marble at the center and at the bottom of it. As you walk, the bowl moves, and as the bowl moves, the marble moves in the opposite direction of which you're walking usually, right? Or it might move around a little bit more than that. This is like the mind coming out of its center, out of its stillness, and reacting to different situations and thoughts according to its tendencies and its desires. But imagine now, instead, that this marble was held in a kind of little cup or ball bearing in the center of this bowl, such that however you walked, the marble would automatically turn in the opposite direction in that ball bearing, so that it would simply stay in that center, right? It would move, but simply as to stay in that center. That's an analogy for how to keep your mind. You're in a way learning a kind of surfing. For whatever comes, you're not reacting. You are keeping the mind in its center. However you're pushed or pulled, you are keeping the mind in its stillness. You're moving only to keep the non-movement, you might say. So non-movement is an action of its own. You could argue that's a kind of concentration or focus. It's not really movement because it's actually simply keeping the mind grounded and in the center. So I've given you a couple of analogies today about how the seeker must keep their mind. Keep the mind with the effortlessness of the relaxation of your muscles and of your voluntary control of your muscles. And keep your mind like a marble in the center and bottom of a bowl, moving only to stay always in the same position, however the bowl moves. So that concludes today's tips.